Okay guys, and welcome back. Again, apologies for the stream's restart and the session restart, but we are all back up and running. We have lost one driver in Young Breezy, which is unfortunate. But again, get on board, get your predictions for the top 3 in if you are watching. We're just going to share the links once more to try and get a few of you back on board. And then we can start the 31 laps of this Singapore Grand Prix. Of course, it's essential these boys now remember to lock in their setups as it does reset with the session. You don't want to compromise yourself by forgetting to put your setup on. We will have Hamres and Stinner starting in the top 10 with medium tyres. So there we go then. We are away on formation. Just to run through the grid view once again. Julian did take pole ahead of Dobby, Mr. Ice Cold Andy, F1atic, Sean, Santero, Eden, Hamres, Stinner, The Boogeyman, Shay, Dreamsy, Lunatics, Trunders, Bats Plus, Dimile, Siquineth, TT and Fuller. Of course we did lose, as I said, Young Breezy in between the sessions. And we've had the first message from Shay, which says he's forgot his setup. And we said on here, and so did Trunders, we said on here, we said in the WhatsApp chat, and we also said in the Discord. There's not a lot more we could have done, boys, to be honest with you, to remind you. I'm really sorry. It's unfortunate. So we'll see how these two can do from 11th and 14th with stock setups. Of course they are able to adjust minimal things like their brake bias during the race. They can also adjust the wings on their pit stops, but they may be fully compromised through the high speed sections of the track this evening, particularly under DRS. Stock setups and cold tyres, the perfect combination. The only thing missing is a dodgy gearbox. So here we go then. Let's get the telemetry back on. And yeah, so Eden's gone for mediums as well. We'll have to double check on that one because I believe he was supposed to start on softs, but as I said, we will double check that. Hammers and Stinner as they were supposed to. The only guy outside of the top 10 on softs is Di Miles, and Flair at the back going for harder tyres. Here we go then. 3, 4 and 5 lights. And away we go for the Singapore Grand Prix. Boys at the front seem to get a decent start. Julian has for definite. There's a Renault there of Showan going into P3. He's had a great start. He's into P2. Going around the outside of Dobby. Dobby though got the inside line and keeps the position. And he's lost a couple of paces on the start. There's been some contact, I believe, because Hamres has fallen all the way back to the back of the grid. That's not great news on his mediums. And let's have a look, because I think Stinner's dropped a few as well. He's P9 and might have been where he started. Let's have a look at the position change and let's have a look who's made up the most positions at the start then. So Sean's up 2, Andy down 2. And yeah, Stinner stays where he was, but Hammers has dropped 13 places. So great start then from Showan. Did momentarily go up into P2, but Dobby had the inside line through turn 2 to take the position back. And we've got a train of cars now then. Of course, DRS not yet enabled. We've got a couple of laps until that's the case, so some of the boys will be eking out some of the ERS to try and jostle for position in these opening laps. Good start there as well from Lunatics and the Boogeyman, who've both managed to get up 3 places. As Julian's got an issue. No, it's the glitch. It's just the glitch. Julian is very much still P1. We did say this would happen in the other stream, so we just wait for this to sort itself out a little bit. Dobby still is in P2, with Showan in P3. And by the looks of things, Andy has got past Fanatic then into P4. So there we go, that sorted itself out. So Andy did make a move there. So he lost 2 positions on the opening lap. He's managed to get one of those back, and he's now on the back of Showan, looking to get back into P3. Julian already with a 2-second gap over Dobby in front. He was a second a lap quicker, of course, in qualifying, so if he can keep his nose clean this evening, then it will be a fairly comprehensive victory, I think, for Julian. Through the last corner then, and onto the pit straight, and Andy right behind Showan. ERS is activated, tries to get up on the inside. He is going to brake late, swings it inside. Showan though with a great exit through turn 1. Very close there, the 2 guys, but very clean racing. There was no contact that I saw. Showan positioning his car perfectly to defend. Now Andy on the back of him again. ERS is deployed. Di Miles is retired from the session, and have we got a virtual safety car here? Or was it a full? I didn't see the message pop up at the bottom. So I'm not sure if we've got VSC at the moment or full safety car. There are boards on the side of the track which do let you know if I can get on board with anyone that may be near one. And it is a VSC, okay, so we will be back and running very shortly. Di Miles is the first retirement. So Julian then already over 3 seconds his gap to Dobby. And Showan manages to stay in front of Andy. The VSC probably helping Andy out more, bit more than Showan, to be honest with you, due to the harvesting. But Showan did pick up a penalty, I believe, under the VSC. Oh, so that really is unfortunate. Maybe he sped there under the VSC to get himself a drive-through penalty. So such a great start, and that's obviously not been great. He'll have to keep his head now, and hopefully that won't cost him too much time. Let's get back on board with Andy then. DRS, of course, is now activated. Showan's getting it from Dobby, so no moves there. Is Stinner looking up on the inside of Santero. Into turn 3 they go. And Stinner has got the move done up into P8. Let's look further down. There's a nice train behind Shea at the moment. As TT gets past Hamres. Bit of a wobble coming out there. Hamres with the inside line. takes the position back. So Hammer's back up into P15 as Eden and F1 Attic are going side by side. Oh, and there's a... What was that? There was the Alpha Tauri, the boogeyman, put his nose in there trying to pick up a position, and he's fallen down a couple of places. So F1 Attic keeps P5, Eden in the P6, Stinner then up into P7, and the boogeyman's dropped down into P10 in the Alpha Tauri. Fortunately for him, he does have a 3-second gap to Shea down in 11th, who does have this big train behind him. That could have been even more costly for the boogeyman, who seemed, like I said, to put his nose where it really wasn't welcome, and he ended up having to cut off. Back on board now then with the battle for P3 as we come through the final couple of corners. Andy stalking his prey, Sean still within the DRS window of Dobby, but Andy right in the slipstream. Let's get on board with it. Nice exit there through the last corner from Sean. DRS is deployed and Andy can't get quick enough here into turn 1. And we've got to move there. Stinner gets past F1 Attic. F1 Attic now down into 7th. He's lost 3 places off the start. Stinner on his mediums, starting to come to life up into P6. His teammate Eden is next for him. Let's stay on board with this and see if he can get the move down with DRS. Eden doesn't have any to defend with. Gets closer, gets closer. Eden takes the racing line and Stinner says, thank you very much, I'll take P5. And soon to join this battle for 3rd with Sean and Andy. It's a great start then from Stinner. I'm not sure if F1 Attic has a bit of damage, does he? Because he's dropping down, like I said, 4 places now. He's lost off the start. Lunatics now right behind him. Hammer is making his way back through the field. He's disposed of Dream Team Sir Quineth in quite quick succession. Trunders is next up for him. We are seeing with Stinner and obviously Eden's on the mediums as well, and Hamres. Maybe the softs already starting to fall off a little bit. So the medium runners seem to be the ones that are making the more moves at the moment. As Mr. Ice Cold Andy does get past Showan, as Showan pits. That's an early pit stop from Showan then. On the softs, is this a drive-through? It was a drive-through. So he picked up a drive-through then through that virtual safety car. That's so frustrating for Showan. He was running, of course, in P3. He's gonna come out behind. He's gonna come out behind the battle, or the train more like, behind Shea. He does get ahead, just about ahead of TT and Falair. And Hamres now gets past Shea as well, so he's now into P10. So a nice recovery so far from Hamres. A bit of clear air now to try and get these mediums working. The boogeyman, of course, with his recovery, or his spin more like, it wasn't much more of a recovery, but he's managed to stay on track. He is 6 seconds behind F1 Attic though, down in P8, who must be glad to see there's no one right up his tailpipe, because he has been dropping back a lot at the start. Lunatics is into P7, Santero P6, Eden with a great start into P5, and Stinner now looking to join this battle between Andy and Dobby for P2. 7 seconds the gap now for Julian at the front. Get on board with Andy here, and Julian comes into the pits as well. So I don't know if Julian's got some damage. Maybe we'll jump on board with that in a second, because we are on board with Andy, which will be for the lead if he can make a move on Dobby. Not quite close enough there, even with the DRS. Let's have a look. Is Julian having a wing change? I didn't think so. So he's just jumped onto the medium tyre, so maybe it's going to be a 2-stop then by the looks of things for Julian. Hammer is making further moves then, as a lot of guys are coming into the pits here. Julian, does he? Yes, he will get ahead of his championship rival Hamres, as Stinner makes a move on Dobby, and Andy's also got past Dobby. There must have been under DRS then, so we missed that unfortunately. But Andy now takes the lead of the race. Stinner on his mediums into second. Dobby loses 2 positions in the one corner. He's got Eden all over the back of him as well, so these softs really are dropping off quickly here tonight, and that's obviously been shown by the fact that Julian and a number of others, Santero, the Boogeyman, have come in to pit. So Stinner then stalking Andy through the last corner. His teammate Eden is... Oh, and Andy comes in then. He's going to cover off that pit stop. Those pit stops behind. Dobby comes in as well. That's probably a smart decision. So Stinner takes over the lead here in Singapore. 8 laps down. His teammate Eden in second. Lunatics moves into third position. So we've got the 3 medium runners currently running in the top 3. Fnatic decides to stay out for another lap. And Julian then setting the fastest sector there in sector 3 on fresh mediums. He is your net race leader currently in P5. Then comes Hamres, and Andy then comes out just ahead of his teammate Shea. As Dreamsy looks to put a move on Shea, but he can't get past. We'll have DRS now. They're side by side, but even though Shea's running with the 6.6 wings, he seems to have a bit more straight line speed. Takes a bad line through there though. Dreamsy with a switchback, can he get it done? It's a lovely move, and he's up into P8, and Shea will, I'm sure, be inside applauding that himself. It's a great move from Dreamsy, moves himself up into P8. On board with Julian, who sticks one around the outside of Fnatic. Obviously the fresh tyres working well for him there, up into P4. He's not going to be held up by this traffic too much by the looks of things, as Fuller looks like he's dropping a couple of places. Dobby's come out on hard tyres and he's come out in a bit of traffic, so not great news for Dobby. Of course, he was in the fight with Andy, who's currently in P7, so Andy's managed to get out in front of all the traffic, and Dobby's pretty much stuck inside it. Santero managed to jump him as well. He's into P9. There's a bit of jostling going on between Dobby and Shea. There's a lot of change in here. Fnatic's gone into the pits. TT's up into P9. Dobby then, as we said, on those mediums, lost out to Santero in the pits. This is a great pit stop there from Santero with the undercut. We got Shea and Fnatic both in the pits. Fnatic has fitted a set of fresh hard tyres, and Shea's gone for a set of mediums. Showen's also come in, and he's on fresh mediums as well. Of course, he was running in P3 before he picked up that unfortunate drive-through penalty. 18 runners at the moment, just the one retirement with Die Miles. And Stinner's currently your race leader. Of course, he had to stop, as are Eden and Lunatics, as Dobby gets past TT up into P9. So as predicted, we're starting to see a few gaps develop now that the trains have disbanded and the pit stops have been done. We've got Santero here on fresh mediums behind Dreamsy. You'll want to get this move done quickly so you can get after Andy. Of course, there is the possibility now of a podium on the line here for Santero this evening. You want to create as much a gap to Dobby in behind as he can. He's got the DRS down but can't get the move done here into turn 1. As Bats Plus comes in again, he's already pitted once, and maybe he's fitted the wrong set of tyres. He's coming now for a set of softs. But we are on board with Dobby. DRS enabled. Gets the move done. Sorry, Santero, not Dobby. And Santero now down up into P7. 8 seconds the gap though to Andy up in P6. So a big job on for Santero if he does want to get himself a podium. Of course, as I said, the front 3 and Hamres are yet to pit, so he is net 3, net 3rd at the moment. And Julian's caught up onto the back of Lunatics. And I'd be very surprised if we don't see a move here. There we go, before we even get to the turn. Julian nice and easily up into P3, making his way through the field beautifully. And he's just under 7 seconds now, or just about 7 seconds away from Stinner in the lead. As TT looks as though he's coming in to pit. Yes, he is. He's getting rid of his mediums. Promotes Valera. And the Boogeyman back in the P10. On board with Andy, within DRS range of Hamres in P5. Hamres, of course, who had that instant at turn 1, dropped right down to the back of the grid but made his way through wonderfully well. To be fair to him, has gone 10 laps now on these mediums, but is under pressure from Andy on fresh set. Andy looking for the inside, breaks later and gets the move done. Didn't give Hamres much choice there other than to concede the place. And Andy up in a P5. And he looks as though he's going to secure his podium here. He's got about an 11-second gap to Santero, who is the 3rd guy of the pit runners. But here's the man who want to take that away from Santero and Andy. The highest of the hard runners, Dobby. He's in DRS range of Dreamsy, but is too far away to make a move into turn 1. We missed Julian there go into P2. He's got past Eden. And Dobby then. DRS applied, and again another position done for Dobby up in the P8. We're on board with Showen, looking at the back of F1atic. Can he still put it around the outside? Runs a bit wide, and maybe in a bit of contact there as F1atic lost the back end, but Showen gets the move done up in the P12. Of course, he is on the faster set on the mediums. F1atic, of course, on the hards, going for that one stop. As Bats Plus gets past Shea as well. And Eden is the first of the medium runners then to come in, and he's fitted a set of softs. So let's have a look where he comes out. He's going to be ahead of Dobby, I presume. Here comes Dobby. You want to be clear of this if you can. And Dobby does get out in front just slightly. Eden, of course, with the faster compound though and the DRS. And he gets that move done very nicely and easily indeed. Dobby will want to stay on the back of him as much as possible to drag him through back into that fight. Of course, Eden just wants to put fast few laps in before coming back in and fitting a new set of tyres. As we've got Shay's retired. Very unsurprising, but yeah, he's out of the race. He looks like he's lost it there on the last corner. I can't see anything to suggest we're having a VSC or safety car, so that would of course have helped Stinner out wonderfully, who's now got Julian right behind him. Yeah, we can't see Shay's car, they cleared it, but there we go. Stinner comes in, but Julian takes the lead. And will we see Lunatics come in? Of course, these boys will want to cover off Eden. So Andy is promoted back up into P2. Stinner's fitting the hards. What's Lunatic's going to go for? And he's gone hards himself. Hamres, of course, follows in as well. And it's going to be a set of hards for Hamres too. So Eden then comes up behind his teammate as well on the faster tyre, but knowing he's going to have to stop again. This may have been a mistake from Eden, but we'll wait and see how this one pans out. As Shay's joined us. Hi Shay. Okay, we'll wait while he adjusts himself and cools down and gets back in. Lunatics on the back of the Boogeyman, looking for P7. He's not going to get in the slipstream as the Boogeyman cuts off the inside line and defends that well. We got Eden on the back. Showan gets past Hamres, and the side by side Hamres hangs it at the outside and takes the position. P9 for Hamres now. Showan's got himself back up into P10 as Trunders retires as well. So a few guys starting to fall now. We've had 2 retirements in 2 laps. Is Stinner going to allow his teammate to get through? Do we have team orders here at Racing Point?
Yo.
Here we go then. Eden into turn 1, and he gets past his teammate up into P4. Just over a second away from Santero in P3. And one thing we of course didn't touch on was the fact that Stinner is another one who jumped Dobby in the pits. So Dobby, of course, after his pit stop, he found himself in so much traffic coming out of it, and it's cost him big time, as Stinner's another one along with Santero that's jumped him. So big strategy calls from Stinner at the moment. The one stop most definitely on.
Stinner's on the hards though. Everyone else has to pit.
Yeah, that's the thing. He started on the mediums, went long on those mediums, and he's now fitted the hards. The top 3, I believe, will have to stop again. Eden, of course, will have to stop again as well because he's fitted softs. So Dobby might be in play later on for a podium, but Stinner, is the race win out of reach? Possibly. I think Julian may be a bit too quick. And the Boogeyman's been back in. Sorry?
I don't even think he'd pass Julian when Julian pits.
No, the gap's pretty big. So Gwyneth is another one retired, so a lot of the TUF2 boys now starting to drop out.
I had to retire. It was like, I don't know, it was impossible.
Yeah, well, we did see you with trains quite often.
I know. I wanted an iron pass, but I was like, yeah. But
Yeah. Stock setup's not going to help you out there, is it?
No. I adjusted it to like 10 when I pitted, but it was a little bit better. But
Eden then,
it's all from me.
with DRS, gets into P3. And he,
Stinner's also on the back of them as well.
yeah, Stinner also had DRS from his teammates. He's now on the back of Santero. So very good strategy call from Stinner. Of course, Hammers will be ribbing his start. He's down in P8. He also went for the same strategy. But a weird call from Eden, who's gone for a set of softs on his second run. And this might cost him in the long run.
It's a very strange call.
Of course, he'd be quick in the last...
Unless he knows something that we don't about rain or something, I don't know.
Possibly.
I believe it was meant to be dry the whole race, but...
Of course, the session was restarted as well, so it might be it's all dry. Right. Santero's a nice exit there. Oh!
Stinner looks like he's struggling.
Right, he's a bit too early on the throttle there, Stinner. So he's not going to get the move done yet. Hamres on the back of Lunatics, and he looks as if he's done the same there. He's gotten the throttle a bit too early. He's had a wobble coming out of turn 2. Oh, and he touches the wall.
What has happened to Hamres this race?
I don't know what happened to him at turn 1, but he went right to the back. Came back through everyone. I think he pitted from P4, P5. So he's had a decent recovery. Of course, he would have been brilliantly positioned had he not had that instant into turn 1. Maybe there's something the stewards will look into. Of course, he did start in the mid-pack around P7, P8, so a lot of cars around. Sherwin had a great start as well, but ended up picking up a drive-through penalty and a VSC, which is unfortunate for him.
I also think I know what's happened to Eden.
Go on.
Because he was meant to start on the softs. I think he's pitted and put the softs on because he accidentally started on the mediums when we done the restart.
Okay.
That's what I think he's done. So he's fitted the softs just in case he got a penalty or something. That's what I think he's done.
Okay.
So it's kind of the same time that he'd lose.
Yeah. Of course, there'll be something that we look into later on, of course, but Santero still...
Right on the back.
Yeah, Santero though still does have DRS coming off Eden, and Stinner puts one up on the inside, pushes Santero out just a touch, and moves himself up into P4. But Eden though, those tyres are only 4 laps old, and he's not created a gap big enough yet to get away from these two. And as we saw with the first stint, the softs really didn't last long enough. After about 4 or 5 laps, they really did start dropping off. I was quite surprised actually how bad the softs were.
Yeah, same. I done one quali lap on them and they were on 12%, so not very good. But it is a big time difference per lap.
Yeah, but the longer he stays on these now, the more you think it's just going to cost him later on.
Is he gonna let Stiller through? Right, he's going in.
He's going in, yeah.
4 laps.
So yeah.
Whoa!
Oh. He's had enough of them already.
Here comes Stiller. So his gap to leader is 29 seconds.
And Santero's gone in as well. So Santero managed to jump Derby on his first stop.
He's just jumped Eden as well. Is it Eden?
Yeah, it was Eden. So let's wait and see how that one turns out. Has he come out ahead of him?
Eden had a change of wing.
Okay, so Santero then has been the big winner in pit stops so far.
And he's come out just behind his teammate as well, so...
Here we go. So Santero then going to the end then on these medium tyres in P9. Dreamsy on his hards has also got past Eden, so Eden with a lot of work to do, and he's gone for mediums as well, and he's got past Dreamsy pretty quickly there and gets DRS for good measure, so very nice for him. Shawan's been promoted up into P7. Hammer's still on the back of Lunatics but can't make any moves at the moment. And Dobby's been promoted back up into P4 with Stinner third, Andy second and Julian first. Stinner a massive 17 seconds off Andy. Oh, Julian's coming in. So your race leader's in for a new set of mediums. He should come out.
Stinner's not gonna.
No. So Julian then back out in the P2. And Andy, where's he going to come out? I think he'll come out round about, maybe just ahead of Derby. Or round about Derby. If he pits now with a fresh set, so he'll want to clear that as soon as possible.
Right on the back.
And Shawan's in as well. Hammer still can't get the move done. And Shawan's gone for the mediums as well. Comes out in 11th. Make that 12th. As Santero gets past his teammate. Up into P7.
Dunno. Sweden's lost out massively. There's nothing else going on. You got Hamrez that's trying to pass Lunatics, but he can't.
Yeah, and these two, of course, both on hard tyres, 5 lap old tyres as well. And I think Andy will. Here we go. Andy's in, so Andy's going to come out round about Derby. These two may close the gap as the race goes on to Derby, due to his tyres being 6 laps older. Maybe Santero can try and close the gap to them as well on his fresh set of mediums, but it's 8 seconds is a big gap in 10 laps.
And he comes out in third.
There we go, just ahead of Derby then.
I got a weird gearbox glitch on Derby's car. I don't know if you got the same. It's very strange.
Mine seems fine.
Just over revving.
So barring any mistakes, it looks like the podium sitters are set. Dobby's tyres, of course, 12 laps old, and like we said, he did get caught in a lot of traffic after his first stop, which compromised him. Hammer's still on the back of Lunatics, but nothing doing for him there. Eden looking at a Fanatic maybe. And Shawan's also close to Bats Plus. Yeah, but other than the obvious battles, the gaps are already pretty big between the guys, so with 10 laps to go, unless there's a retirement and the safety car, it looks as if everything's quite set. Eden with DRS up the inside of F1 and up in the P8, 3.8 behind Santero. Back and forth with Hamres. He's got the DRS down, but he's got absolutely no ERS whatsoever. And he's coming up against Lunatics, who's managed to harvest his very well. And he's got too much for Hamres to deal with. I think we need to see Hamres harvest for a couple of laps before he goes for a move, because Lunatics is dealing well with his ERS management at the moment. And Showan did get past Bats Plus up in the P11, just under 11 seconds the gap though to the first point. Let's take a little look at penalties, because there's quite a few, but as the Boogeyman retires, oh, there we go. So I think there is a possibility. Yeah, there will be a few changes, judging by those penalties, for one person in particular. Of course, they can see it now anyway, can't they, on their screen? Shay? Okay, bye. So, yeah, Eden with the 12 seconds. Will drop him down a couple of places as it stands. Hi Luke, good to see you. Have you been? Oh, did we miss a mistake there from Hamres? As Flair retires, what is this? Is this a VSC? We've got a full safety car. Wow. We've got a full safety car. So just when you think the race is done and dusted, we have a safety car with 7 laps remaining. So everyone's in, and I believe everyone will fit the new set of softs. The top 3 surely have. This is incredible. Those massive gaps that Julian had to Stinner, that Andy had to Derby, all those big gaps that we were worried about. There's one guy who's really not going to enjoy this, and that's Eden, because he's got a massive amounts of penalties. He's stayed out. No, he's not. He's come in. Sorry. Derby's gone for mediums. Lunatic, Santero, Hammer has all gone for softs. Showan's gone for... yeah, Showan stayed out in his mediums as well. They're 3 laps old, so he's picked up a couple of positions there rather than going in for a fresh set. Maybe a smart decision come the end of the race. Falef was another who forgot his setup, so a couple of guys were caught out by that. I'm getting that Eden is still on medium tyres. Did he not come in? That seems like a strange decision if that's the case. Or was he not? Yeah, maybe he's not been past There we go, can hear you.
Hello, 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 hello.
There you go.
Sweet.
So just after you went, I was messaging you back and I wasn't looking. Hammer's had an instant because he dropped a few seconds behind Santero. Then Fuller retires and we get a safety car.
Oh well. It's all kicking off. So everyone stopped, I'm guessing.
Well, everyone's got on a fresh set of softs.
Apart from Derby, I see.
Dobby's gone on mediums, yeah, and Showan stayed out. So he
Derby's
picked
the
up.
best.
Yeah, he picked up 5 positions just by staying out. Everyone from Fnatic down has stopped as well, but I believe Eden maybe. Either he just, I think maybe he just might have gone past the pits when the safety car came out because he's on 13 lap rolls mediums. There we go, he's coming in now. So I'd expect him to come back out in P11. So wow, yeah. Hamres, I think, may have had. Yeah, I think Hamres may have had a wing change because he lost out to Santero. No, wait a minute. Santero might have had.
Retired?
Fuller.
Oh,
So I think Santero might have had a wing change because he's lost out not only to Lunatics, who was just ahead of Hamres, but also Showan, who stayed out. So he's put a bit of daylight in between. Lunatics has put a little bit of daylight in between himself and Hamres. Eden, of course,
hopefully
was.
It comes in this lap, though.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't stay out too much. But Eden, who was looking like he was going to be battling for a handful of points this evening, has ended up down in P12, and a lot of cars to clear if he's going to get back up. But this is going to be an interesting one now. We didn't see any fast runs from Stinner on softs in quali. He did qualify top 10 with mediums. So the first couple of corners here, the battle for Julian, and with Andy just behind him. Could be very interesting indeed.
I think he's just too quick.
Well,
he's gonna pull away regardless, I think. I hope not, but in the nicest way possible.
We did see a very strong restart from him last week.
Hopefully it comes in soon so we have a good last few laps.
And penalties, of course, massive now. Eden not only down in 12th, but he's got 12 seconds worth of penalties, so I think his chances of scoring points are probably over. What's happening with Julian here? He's stopping. The safety car is in then.
Yeah.
And Julian catches Stinner sleeping. He's done that twice in 2 weeks.
Mind games.
And Andy touches the back of Stinner.
Ah!
He's outbroke himself, and Stinner managed to keep hold of the car, but Andy's up into P2 and Dobby round the outside on his mediums into P3. Hamres has made a move on Santero up into P7.
I'm on board with the other boys. Got Stinner around the back of Dobby. He's going to make a move on the inside. Ooh,
yeah, and we got Lunatics creeping through as well.
Ooh. Oh, nice little aerial. Oh. And what's happened to Andy?
I think Andy's let Stinner back through.
Ah.
So
GG.
It's created the gap even bigger than for Julian, who probably will now ride off. But Lunatics
4.5 seconds already.
Yeah, incredible. But of course Andy did touch Stinner. He caught him on the restart, and obviously Andy did slow down then to let Stinner back through. There's a lot of changes here. Hamres has had another moment. He's put it in the wall. He's had a spin and he's back to the back of the
literally
grid.
got P7 for them. One corner.
Oh, Santero going up the inside. But Fanatic keeps saying there's contact between Santero and is that... Who was that?
Plus, I think.
Bats Plus. Bats Plus manages to keep his car on the road, and Santero going back on the inside, but these two have lost 4 or 5 positions now as TT's up into P10, Eden's back up into 9th, Dreamsy in 8th, and Fanatics kept his car on the road up into P7. All change on this restart.
Bloody hell.
And again,
Still though,
Eden's gone back into the pits, so I don't know if that's a wing change.
Andy doesn't have a pen, so it depends what Julian etc. have.
Well,
and Andy could, I don't have luck because I don't want it to be spoilt, but Andy could possibly win this race.
Well, if you want to see it, it's very interesting because Andy will be able to see it himself because now on your telemetry you can see it.
Yeah. I'm gonna. Ooh.
But we can see it, and no wonder Julian's trying to put out a big gap.
Yeah.
Interestingly though, that gap has been cut, and Lunatics has got a drive through as well, which is he did so well off the restart and his pit stop and defending from Amras earlier in the race.
Come on, Andy.
But I tell you, judging by these penalties, I mean anyone down as far as maybe 8th can get a podium tonight.
Well, the top 3 are now gone. Julian is not pulling away as much as he was.
I do wonder whether those...
So Andy may overtake Stinner here. Derby's past... Lunatic's in the pit, sorry.
I do wonder
also
whether
doesn't
those...
have a pen, so...
I wonder whether those penalties were picked up coming into under the safety car, or when Stinner overtook Andy, Julian on the safety car. Restart.
Andy with DRS.
So Andy now really just needs to keep his cool.
Yeah. Derby also doesn't have a pen, so maybe quite good for him. He might jump up a place.
Of course, we have got the possibility of penalties being challenged. We did see Stinner have a penalty removed from Brazil, so we'll wait and see where his penalties. Of course, the 3 seconds are probably for corner cut, and the 5s are usually for speeding in the pit lane. If that's the case, then they will remain.
Yeah. Good little recovery from our mate Christian.
Yeah, very much.
Christian shown.
He has got a Fanatic stalking him down, but yeah, he's had a good qualifying and very good start, jumping 2 places at the start in the P3. He's unfortunate to pick up that drive through, but he's recovered well.
Oh, and Andy picks up a pen.
Oof.
Trying to push past Stinner. Doesn't really need to.
And as the gap is at the moment, he's still got the win in pocket.
Right,
That's a very nice move.
There's one.
Back into P2, 4.3 seconds the gap now. That's moved up to 7.3 with a 3-second penalty applied. So it is going to be close at the end.
Foot down, Andy.
Lunatics incidentally came back out in P11. He's another
It's
one.
had a very roller coaster race.
Yeah, he's another one, of course, that doesn't have a penalty. But in order to pick up a few more points, he needs to get his foot down. Santaro's restart really was compromised. He had a half-decent race before that contact with Bats Plus. He's now sitting in P9. TT was one of the biggest earners from that, and the safety car. Hasn't been in points all evening, he's now in P8, but of course big penalties for him as well.
There's nothing much else going on. Just gotta wait. Without Derby is the only one without a pen that's in the mix.
Yeah, as Lunatics, as we said, he didn't have a pen, he now picks this one up. And Derby's really good at that, keeping his... And
he's only 7 seconds behind the leader, so... Could Derby win this race?
Derby very much so could, yeah. When you factor in Andy's penalty as well.
Yeah, Derby is very... can't think of the word, but... Bats Plus for the fastest lap. Go on, mate. Although Andy has
as it
caught up
stands
to Julian a bit, so...
As it stands, Andy's going to win it. He's got a 3-second gap to Derby. Derby needs to get in within that 3-second window of Andy. Luca's just joined. Luca, you've missed quite a bit.
Yeah.
Everything was going rosy until the safety car, and that's now thrown everything out the window. Stinner's picked up another penalty, by the way, so he's now got 11 seconds worth of penalties. So Stinner's going to fall right out of the mix after looking very primed, at least for P2. We're on to the last lap. I'll be honest with you, my mental maths is really good, but I couldn't even begin to work out any of this.
Derby's catching Julian as well, so it's only 6.5. It was just 7.1. So maybe Derby is listening. So I don't know.
It's about 3.4 seconds at the moment away from Andy. He needs to get that 0.4 down. His Dreamsy gets past Fanatic. They're side by side. Gonna get on board with this just a moment. Dreamsy moves himself up into P6. Lovely move. But I think by the end of this lap, Fanatic will have that position back.
Bloody stressful, this is.
Yeah, well, I think wouldn't surprise me if Andy and Derby were both listening in, but boys, it's close.
Yeah, very, and Andy is catching rapidly to Julian as well, to be fair to him.
Taking 1.5 off him in the last couple of corners. We did see, like I mentioned at the top of the stream, Julian in Monaco, he did lose his wing, but he will come across the line to provisionally win here in Singapore. Andy does take him on penalties. Stinner's finished, and Derby comes into P2. Hey, show, I'm going to take P4 off Stinner. No, he stays P5. Dreamsy gets jumped by Fanatic into P6. So let's have a look. Santero, I think, will stay P8. And he does. And TT, I believe, will lose a position to Lunatics, but will stay. He loses it to Eden as well.
Lunatics lost the wheel.
And then we just got two guys. But even though Julian threw away that race win, his closest championship contender coming into the race, he's down in 13th position. A torrid race from Hamres.
Yeah, one to forget.
Brutal start coupled with a great recovery, and then what happened after that, who knows. And he's the last car to come home. Wow, okay. So, just like last week when we thought we were in for a boring end to the race, the safety car comes out and throws everything up in the air. But I tell you what, I did not see Andy winning this race tonight.
No. Carrying the Haas team.
Well, yeah.
His teammate should be embarrassed.
Yeah, his teammate very much should. But there he is, top of the podium.
Repping it for the Haas team. Go on, bud. Go on.
Incredible drive. He lost a couple of positions at the start, made them back quite swiftly. Derby, of course, with the one stop onto those mediums. He did come and fit. Onto the hards. He did set the mediums in the second stop under the safety car. Otherwise, he would have done the one stop. But earns himself second place by keeping his nose clean. And it was only 7 tenths in it. 7 tenths away from the race win. Julian then, ruining that safety car, comes home in P3. Stinner with a great race, but ultimately penalties cost him as well in P4. Sean, great recovery in P5. Fanatic, another great recovery really up into P6. Dreamsy P7, Santero 8th, Lunatics 9th, and Eden does take home the last point. TT 11th, Bats plus 12th, Hamres with the fastest lap in 13th. Won't get a point for that, unfortunately. Fuller, the Boogeyman, Sir Gwyneth Trunders, Shea, and Di Miles all retired. Who would you give your driver of the day, Shea?
I don't know. I haven't got a clue. I know Andy won, but I don't know. It was a good recovery from Sean. Stinner started 9th, came 3rd. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to be biased, but I'll say I'm going to say Derby because he didn't have a pen, and that's quite impressive.
Yeah, I'd like to agree with you, but unfortunately Derby finished above. Started ahead of Andy, so I'm going Andy. Sean with a close second. That's been the Singapore Grand Prix, round 4 of season 3. That was an absolute wild one. I may have just thrown Andy back into the championship mix. Of course, we are next week at another street circuit in Azerbaijan. So join us then.
I don't mind that one. I should be right.
Yeah, we'll see. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week for Azerbaijan, and have a good new year. Take care. Bye bye.